if you want to lose weight for your pageant, abs are built in the kitchen. If you bake your chocolate cake, if you make your cinnamon rolls, if you make your lasagna from scratch, that means you can eat it. Hey everybody, it's Crystal. This is part one of a 3-part series talking all about diet, nutrition, and how to stay slim and trim for your competition. This particular video is about how to lose weight for a pageant and strategies for maintaining that weight or just being healthy and staying relatively similar to that weight for the rest of your life. I do want to caveat,
I am not a professional medical expert, so if anything happens to you and you really need to seek help, please go talk to someone who has letters after their name. An MD, RN, DO, NP, you know what I mean.
I also want to clarify that every time a contestant loses weight for a pageant, that weight is really like being a wrestler at fighting weight. You have to think like an athlete. Realistically speaking, a lot of those athletes, wrestlers for instance, who go to weigh-ins, they are not expected to stay that weight for the rest of their lives. It's a very specific moment and they are losing weight for that particular event. It's very similar for a pageant. To expect that you will stay as thin as you will be on the night of your swimsuit competition for the rest of your life is a little bit unrealistic. Staying thin after the pageant really comes down to what your healthy habits are. And being that exact live, slightly dehydrated little thing that you are on the night of your pageant is probably not a great way to live for the rest of your life. So, when I was at Miss America, all of the contestants that night for their swimsuit competition, everyone looked great on stage. After the pageant, people reverted back to their normal weights. It's totally okay. It's great to do what you need to do to get down to be as slender as you feel confident being for your pageant, but then after that, don't be too hard on yourself when you start to see the scale climb up, all right? You are so much more than a number on a scale. I really, really want to stress that. That being said, in a nutshell, if you want to lose weight for your pageant, abs are built in the kitchen. It doesn't matter how far you run, how heavy you lift, how active you are. If you want to change the shape of your body, if you want to lose fat, it is so much easier to do it with diet alone. Okay, you can do it with diet alone. Exercise helps, but you have to think about diet as being the primary thing. The reason is that if you don't change your diet at all and you up your exercising, you up your workouts, you are going to be hungrier and you are just going to continue eating what you are eating. And the key to weight loss is fundamentally changing what you eat, or at least taking a hard look at what constitutes a majority of your calories. Now, the reason why there is no one-size-fits-all nutrition plan is because all of us are on different diets. Depending on where you are in the world, you might have certain cultural dishes that have certain ingredients that are super important. I know for me, I'm Chinese American. I love eating rice. So when I wanted to lose weight, the first thing that I cut out of my diet was rice, and that made a huge difference. If you are a soda drinker, a junk food eater, if you like processed foods, you gotta be honest, if you eat that stuff, cutting that out will fundamentally change your body. It will. You will lose weight, especially if you are not replacing those calories with high calorie replacements, like, nuts, dried fruit. There are a lot of calories in those things. Sustained weight loss and being healthy for the long run comes down to having an understanding of basic nutrition. What foods are good to eat, what foods are not good to eat. I can tell you right now that anything that comes out of a box, anything that is marketed from like a factory, anything that is processed by machinery is an item that has a marketing budget behind it. Let me give you an example. There are tons of healthy bars at Whole Foods or at grocery stores, and they are marketed as being, for the athlete or for the cool girl, for the busy person. And sure, it's very convenient, but a lot of these bars are just as bad for you as a Snickers. Like, they have a lot of sugar, and the reason why they sell so well is because people either don't know other options or they don't have enough time to prepare, apples and peanut butter. All right, so as promised, how to actually lose weight for your pageant boils down to a couple of key strategies. Number one, cut out all alcohol. Alcohol has no nutrients for you. There's nothing in it that's redeeming. Aside from it maybe fueling a good time, there's nothing actually good for you in it, and your body is better without it, trust me. Cutting out all refined sugar is the next thing. Refined sugar is cakes, pastries, candy, anything that is sweet that isn't fruit, gotta get rid of it. Not only is it going to help you lose weight, it actually adjusts your taste buds, because once you stop eating sweet things, every tiny sweet thing, like a blueberry, a raspberry will taste like the sweetest thing ever. And I've never cut out fruit. I'm a huge fruit fiend myself, but once I started cutting out refined sugar, a banana was like the most delicious sweet thing ever. It's amazing what happens. Your taste buds really adjust. The next thing to cut out is the highest source of your calories. And in your diet, most likely it's going to be carbs. It's just easy to cut out rice, grains, anything that's starchy. That is usually what gives you energy throughout your day. But if you cut that out, you will start to lose weight. You might also get cranky, but that's another subject, okay? You will lose weight, but sometimes emotionally, there's a bit of a roller coaster too. When you cut these things out, what's left to eat? Well, lean protein and raw vegetables and steamed vegetables. It's really important to have them either be raw or steamed, because if you cook them in oil, oil has a ton of calories, so it'll sabotage your weight loss if you are cooking your vegetables in oil. So don't do that. Eat them raw with either like a little bit of vinegar, Tabasco, or mustard, or even nothing at all, maybe even just a little bit of salt, or just steam them and eat them plain, okay? Plain is better because again, it adjusts your taste buds. The first couple of days sucks, but you'll get used to it, and suddenly all these foods that you didn't taste the nuances in, the whole foods, the healthy foods, unprocessed foods, they will start to really taste delicious, trust me. If you are a vegetarian, I would assume that tofu and other substitutes might work, but I know that there are a lot of processed vegan and vegetarian foods. I really urge you to stay away from anything processed. I want you to shop on the edges of the grocery store, the edges. So the dairy sections, the produce sections, all of the stuff on the very edges tends to spoil. You want to eat the foods that will go bad. You want to eat foods that will go bad because it means that there aren't preservatives in them. So if you're not a vegetarian, you can eat lean protein, great, you have the world at your disposal. Chicken breast is going to be your friend, and by the end of your journey, you are going to be so sick of chicken breast. But that's what all the bodybuilders eat. It's got high protein, low calories, and as you pick up on your frequency of workouts, eating chicken breast and lean protein will help your muscles recover without putting on fat. Now it sounds very restrictive, right? Can't eat too many carbs, no sugar, no alcohol, but if you really follow this plan, you will not be able to eat too much of it. You can't overeat if you're just eating lean protein and veggies. So eat as much as you want, and you will be hungry because as you're exercising, your appetite's gonna go up. Being able to fall back on your lean protein and your vegetables will keep you from feeling hungry. Now there are some exceptions. I would urge you to stay away from the really starchy root vegetables and eat tubers. You want to go for like leafy greens, raw carrots, tomatoes. When in doubt, if you can eat it raw, you're probably golden. So that's pretty much it. That's how you lose weight for a pageant. If you are able to start that earlier, you're gonna have more time to lose weight. I really encourage you to start it earlier because it's safer to lose weight that way. I don't recommend trying to lose more than 2 pounds a week. Anything more than that, and you're probably losing water, and it's just a little aggressive. The disadvantage is that the longer you're eating chicken breast and broccoli, the more you're gonna get sick of it. So it's up to you, it's safety versus your palate versus what you can handle. The secret to staying thin after your pageant is really continuing to eat protein and vegetables, but also incorporating the things you love and you miss in small amounts. I love eating rice. I cannot live without rice, but instead of having a heaping, bowl of rice, I'll probably try to up the protein, and it becomes almost like a treat and not something that I just take for granted. Every bite of rice since competing in pageants has been something that I've learned to have a newfound appreciation for. I'll put it that way. For me, 2 months before every pageant, I slowly got rid of all refined sugars, oils, creams, anything that was highly caloric, and I started increasing my workouts to twice a day, first thing in the morning and also in the afternoon, late afternoon before dinner. I would wake up on an empty stomach, run about 2 or 3 miles, go about my day, and then in the afternoon before dinner, I would also take a ballet class. And that was moving for like 90 minutes, but I'm sure for you, it could be just running for 45 minutes. Running is very efficient because you're not wasting any time. You're just constantly burning. Now, as the date of the competition nears, I dropped everything except for chicken, broccoli, lean protein, and vegetables. I ate some fruit because I liked having some energy. I was getting hangry without eating the fruit, but it's really just about getting yourself into that headspace, right? Delayed gratification. I'll eat my cake with that crown on my head. I'll eat that ice cream with that crown on my head. I just really had that goal, and so it was easy for me to give up these things. My head was in the game. Now, staying thin after the pageant is also about educating yourself and knowing what is in what. Read books. One of my favorites is Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. This book really changed everything for me. I was 15 when I read it. It's really like a all vegan raw diet. I did it for a couple of weeks and lost quite a bit of weight. I actually would recommend that you look at part 2 of my video. I go in depth as to what my journey was with this topic. In terms of free resources, go online to bodybuilding forums. Go on Reddit where there are subreddits such as intermittent fasting or Lose It or Kaiko, which is calories in, calories out. All of these are communities where people are focused on helping each other reach their goals, and you can learn some tips and tricks from them too. If you're ready to go for a more intense diet, I would recommend a bodybuilder's diet. Now, these are pretty aggressive. I was never able to commit to it fully myself. I tried elements of it for a few weeks because bodybuilders are really the experts at keeping muscle and lowering fat. Just don't do the steroids thing. It's not good for you. And lastly, if you do try a diet, make sure that you're checking in with how you feel. There is no one size fits all. All right, every single person's diet is influenced by so many factors related to their cultural upbringing, maybe even what their ancestors ate, and what's readily available to you in your home given your circumstances. Eat as many fruits and vegetables as you possibly can afford. Now I want to transition to effective strategies that will help you stay thin longer term. The very first one is remembering that nutrients and fiber are everything. When in doubt, reach for something that has more fiber in it. It will help you stay fuller longer, and it's better for your digestive system too. Classic example is if it's between brown rice and white rice, choose the brown rice. If you're really not a vegetable person, choose the one you dislike the least and just build your meals around that. My younger sister had an ex-boyfriend who hated all vegetables except for green beans. And he ate so many green beans because he was interested in losing weight and gaining muscle, and that was a big staple in his diet. So find your green beans. If you don't really like vegetables, it might be that you didn't like the way they were prepared. So give them another chance. Maybe your mom or dad wasn't a great cook and ended up cooking something to death and wasn't that tasty, but don't give up on the ingredient. The ingredient can be prepared in a different way, and you might turn out to like them. Although deep frying them doesn't count. Don't deep fry them. If you don't like vegetables that much, eat them first before the rest of your meal. This way you're actually getting it into your system so that you're fuller and you're not saving it for the very end, in which you can convince yourself not to eat it. You might overeat on the grains and the yummy, gooey, and I'm thinking mac and cheese, the yummy cheat stuff, but eat the vegetables first. In general, if you're choosing between 2 soups, one that has clear broth and one that has cream, go for the one with the clear broth because cream has a lot of sneaky calories in it. Plus, if you're gonna eat cream, at least for me, I would save it for ice cream. Beans. Okay, beans are like the unsung hero of diets. I ate so many beans when I was trying the Eat to Live diet, and I now love them. I think that they're great. Just don't eat too many of them in the very beginning, or else you're gonna have a little wind. If you go out and you order a salad, instead of pouring the dressing all over the top, dip your fork into the dressing and then use your fork to jab the vegetables and eat them. Doing this allows you to get the flavor of the dressing without completely dousing it. It's a misconception that all salads are healthy. A lot of salad ingredients like dried cranberries have added sugar, croutons, wonton strips, even nuts. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, nuts are not your friend. Nuts have a lot of calories. They're healthy for you in the long term, but if you're trying to lose weight for your pageant, don't eat nuts. So when you order a salad, just make sure that they don't have these things in them, or ask for them on the side, or ask for them removed. And again, don't go with a creamy dressing. If you have to have an oil, do like an oil and vinegar. And I'd stay away from fat-free dressings because those usually have a ton of sugar in them. If you're eating at a Chinese restaurant, watch out for the stir-fried eggplant. Because stir-fried eggplant soaks up tons of oil. When you're eating, make sure to put your phone away and turn off the TV. Try to eat mindfully. You want to be paying attention to everything that's going into your mouth. Try not to even have conversations with other people. Really focus on what you're eating, and that will help you really savor the experience. If you have access to a kitchen, I would also encourage you to start learning how to cook. When you learn how to cook, you can't help but become more familiar with the ingredients and the tools and the produce at your disposal. The more you educate yourself, the more informed you'll be and the more options you'll have to eat exciting and different meals without feeling like you're depriving yourself. So it's really key. Learn to cook. A lot of us have that one comfort food that is so difficult to give up. For me, it's French fries. And so what I've been trying to do is make it healthier by doing it at home in an air fryer. And nowadays there are so many recipes and substitutions and options out there. Instead of caving in and eating the real thing, if you're trying to lose weight, I'd recommend trying to make like a healthier version of it at home by yourself. If you're gonna be out of the house, prep your meals. Bring your veggies, bring your snacks. If you are out and about and you have access to healthy food, you are less likely to spend money on something that is going to sabotage your diet. So just pack those veggie sticks. Always have healthy food in the car because you never know when you're gonna get hungry. Some other strategies that might work for you that I've heard about over the years is, one, you can eat it if you've cooked it from scratch. Okay, so that means if you bake your chocolate cake, if you make your cinnamon rolls, if you make your lasagna from scratch, no shortcuts, that means you can eat it. And the thinking behind this is the time, the expense, and the effort it takes to make these meals from scratch is so high that most people aren't even going to do it. Okay? If you want to eat ice cream, you got to make your ice cream. How many people are actually going to make their ice cream? They're probably going to be like, it's too much work. Or they get all the ingredients, read the labels, and realize, holy crap, there's so many calories in this. Heavy cream, sugar. The idea is it's like putting you in the driver's seat so that you can't just take a shortcut and eat these highly caloric foods. You have to actually prepare them yourself. Another strategy I've heard is to eat the diet of your ancestors. So if you're from the Mediterranean, stick to a more Mediterranean diet. Eat fish. Your fats should be olive oils, not so much butter. For me, I'm Asian, I'm Chinese, so I eat the way that my grandparents ate, which is protein, a lot of vegetables, and bowls of rice with some soup, clear broths. So deep fried foods, foods with creams and cheese, that's not really what my ancestors ate, so I stay away from that. It's kind of on accident that I've followed this strategy, but for me it works, and I think there's something to it. And lastly, if you are single, if you're young, one thing that I could recommend is to find a partner and a future spouse, a roommate, anyone who you will be living with who likes vegetables, who eats healthfully, who lives a healthy and active lifestyle. When you are surrounded by someone and people who have good habits, you can't help but be lifted up by those as well. So many times my husband has made a salad and I'm like, I don't want to eat a salad. And then he sits down on the couch and he has a big bowl and I'm like, oh, actually that does look kind of good. He also is a runner, and so whenever he goes out to work out, I'm like, oh, okay, fine, I'll go out and work out too. Thank you for joining me for video 1 of this 3-part video series. My next video, as a heads up, is deeply personal. I'm going to be sharing my journey through body image, weight loss, exercises, and other strategies that have helped me maintain my weight without dieting. So if you're interested, take a look. See you there.